Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and welcome to another edition of The Ways We Move. I believe this is our 14th episode, and a very interesting one I've been waiting for a long time. We are talking with Jose Rodriguez from Bluenest, who's a dear friend of mine in the industry and someone who I value a lot for his expertise, but also for how pragmatic he is when it comes to the industry. So, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Nicholas Zard, and I am your host on The Ways We Move. I've been in the electric mobility industry for the last 20 years or so, both as a consultant and a journalist. So, as a consultant, I have a company called Electric Air Mobility, and we are a consulting group for municipalities, airports, heliports on how to not only prepare for advanced air mobility, but also what does it look like? How do we design it and how do we implement it through our big network of partners out there. Jose is one of them. Bluenest is one of them. So, in this section, we talk about first of all, where does Jose come from? What is his background? What makes him so ideal to run Bluenest, which is part of Globalvia itself, a huge international infrastructure company. But we also talk about a few wonderful things. I mean, one of the things I like about Jose and Bluenest is that they really work well with the drone side of the industry, UAS, and the passenger side of the industry, or the eVTOL side of the industry. And those are not the greatest words to really capture the essence of that, but it works. We also talk about a live demonstration that they have going on in Costa Rica right now. And let me tell you, that is absolutely fantastic. All of this is based on their mobile platform that they can assemble, disassemble in roughly 6 hours. So, and think about it, they can have a vertiport up and running in about 6 hours. Then we're going to talk a little bit about organ transportation. That is an amazing new thing. Well, not new, it's actually a very old concept that we've had for a long time. But drones make organ transportation possible now to be much more efficient. And that's something that we'll be talking very soon with another person I'm going to invite here on the show, Dr. Scalia, who has also a really fantastic project. But Jose is also working on an organ transportation system that they will be showing in the Canary Islands. So without further ado, we'll let Jose talk about what he does.
Hello, nice to meet you all. I'm Jose Rodriguez. I'm the Managing Director of Bluenest by Globalvia. I'm really excited to be here today with Nicolas, a good friend and a fellow colleague. For those of you that don't know me much, I'm actually not an aerospace engineer. Uh, I have drones in my veins and here, my cufflinks. I'm a passionate. My father is the pilot. My father is a military pilot, colonel from the Spanish Air Force, and I was
Oh,
brought up in an aerodrome in Sevilla. Uh,
really?
Actually, the first postal service between Spain and Morocco was from this aerodrome in Sevilla where I grew up. And I was watching the airplanes since I was a kid and dreaming of being a pilot, but I was short-sighted. I could not be perfect like my father.
Shucks.
Yeah. So it's not F5 that I could pilot maybe a Boeing or an Airbus, but I wanted to be, really fast like my father,
Of
a military.
course. Of
So
course.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You have to dream big, right?
Yep, that's right. Oh, and we certainly are in this industry.
And that's what we are, dreamers. I want to be a pioneer, so I'm a telecommunications engineer, but dreaming of opening new airways in the sky, enabling the 3D mobility. So I come from the south of Spain, Sevilla. I started working many years, yeah, very sunny. Finally, after many days of rain, it was horrible here. And what happened that I found a job in Indra in ATM, air traffic management. So I could, work in route planning and safety. I work a bit in testing, especially in safety software assurance for flight data processing for this core part of
Mm.
the ATM. So I was very learning very fast. I loved the industry from the beginning. So I was gradually becoming an aerospace engineer because I was forgetting all the stuff from the telecommunications. And suddenly I was offered to work also in Germany in Constance Lake, where the aviation was born there with the Zeppelin, you know. I was
Oh,
working in,
yes.
yeah.
Wow.
Remember the von Zeppelin, the,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. The big Zeppelin. Yes, absolutely. Wow.
So I lived there 6 years. So again, I was in a kind of, you know, the aerodrome of the beginnings where the Dornier factories were there and it was
Right.
Friedrichshafen. Yeah. I was then working in aeronautical information. So I was, you know, moving from ATM to AIM. I was traveling all around the world. And in one of these travels, I saw some drones delivering things in the rural areas and delivering medicines and so on. And I was amazed by this. I said, wow, these robots are really making the difference. You know, it's not like the Roomba cleaning the vacuum cleaner in our house. These robots are saving lives. So I started researching. I saw about zip line, now over 1
Yes.
million flights, yeah, in Rwanda, Uganda. That's making a difference, you know? It's saving
Yes.
lives. Yeah. And I was offered the opportunity to work in another company in unmanned traffic management in UTM. So I said, let's go to something more dynamic that think people are regulating and creating, not only regulating, you know, not only um, not so static. So I started creating UTM platforms. I started selling also drones for cargo in this company, in Everest Aerospace Entity Data. And again, this was very random, very lucky that we went for a project of advanced air mobility, urban air mobility,
Mm.
Amulet, it was called. And this
Mm.
project was about flying air taxis already in Rotterdam Harbor, in Cranfield University, and in Spain, in Galicia. So we had several platforms. One was EHang, and then I was
That's right.
amazed by the air taxi. You know, this is
Yeah.
already loading passengers. This is something
Yes.
else. So I had the chance to go to the air side by working in EHang and then selling even air taxis. You know, I was there 1 year. I learned a lot, working hard for getting difficult permits to fly for these machines. Um, yes. And after some period, I finally landed in Bluenest by Globalvia, which is paving the ground, you know, is setting the foundations for this to be able to fly, all these eVTOLs to fly safely, the cargo and the passenger one. So that's where I am now for 3 years. I'm now the managing director, and I'm working in very exciting projects about, yeah, vertiports and doing a lot of testing, all I can. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And it's funny because we met about 2 years ago. I can't remember exactly. And I had been following you before, even before you went on board. And I was always impressed with what you guys were doing, with your concepts and everything. And then something changed when you came in, and there was another part of Blueness that started to happen. And I think we met in Lisbon one day, and this is when I think you and I really hit it off because I was like, "Oh, we think exactly the same: crawl, walk, run." So I want to talk maybe even before we start to talk about that. Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with Globalvia because it might not be that people might not understand it nearly as well as what you and I understand. So who's Globalvia and who are you within Globalvia? And then we'll talk about what is going on in the AAM industry.
Yeah, Global Via has a shared dream with me that a small percentage of the ground mobility will be taking off,
Yeah.
lifting and moving up in the sky. As the sky is free for everybody to use, it's of course regulated, but we have infinite layers there of space to use.
Yeah.
So Global Via is a big holding working in infrastructure for ground mobility. So they are doing over 1,700 kilometers of highways, even in Virginia and Richmond there in US, but
Mm.
especially in Spain, Portugal, Chile, Costa Rica. I will talk about a bit about Costa Rica later and
Yeah.
our adventure there. So what is Blueness inside Global Via? So Global Via is working with, yeah, even with train buses in UK, even in Singapore, we have some buses, but train, fast train, metro. So they're doing a bit of everything. and they didn't want to miss the opportunity to enter into this market. For me, sometimes, the risks are that you are not entering into a new business. You don't use your window of opportunity to position yourself well. So here,
Mm.
Bluenest enters into the equation as the innovation business line for advanced air mobility of Globalvia. So we are called Bluenest by Globalvia, and we are working in becoming a key player in the new infrastructure for air logistics, passenger transport, and automated services with unmanned air system, UAS, and other applications like lockers, drone ports that we
Mm.
can
True.
already connect to the drones. So our dream is really in Globalvia uh, to place the citizen at the center, to find the needs they have in the cities, suburban areas, especially in remote areas that are not well connected, where ground infrastructure would be a big cost, in money, CO2 emissions, and a lot of effort. So sometimes it's not giving up. It's not giving up. It's just saying, okay, in the ground is on the ground is so hard that I will aim to the air. So you can complement routes, and you can offer in all the Global Via group all the mobility as a service, mixing ground and air services. So we want to be there guaranteeing safe and efficient operations for all the eVTOLs and other actors in advanced air mobility ecosystem. That's more or less in a nutshell, Blueness by Global Via. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As you can see from your background, it's also the maritime world, sea vessels, and everything that I mean. That's the point of advanced air mobility. We are part of aviation. We are part of mobility. We're just a segment inside of mobility. So
Yeah.
one
Right.
of the things that I love about you specifically is you are pragmatic. You're down to earth, and I really enjoy that a lot. I enjoy watching you or hearing you talk every time. And I think right now we sort of went from this idealistic world of advanced air mobility, hop putty hop from building top to building top, to now all of a sudden much more concrete, much more robust, and I would say even mature vision of what advanced air mobility looks like. So tell me a little bit about how do you see currently the industry as it stands of when we are today, Wednesday, March the 19th, 2025. How do you see the industry so far? How has it morphed?
Yes, if I go back to 2020 when I started working in eVTOLs for passengers, and we all expected in the Olympic Games in
Yes.
Paris to have
Yes.
commercial flights and people selling tickets and come on, fly around the Eiffel Tower, and let's come to the stadium and Le Bourget to Charles de Gaulle, the Palace of Versailles. And especially, I like a lot the mission of the Austerlitz, the pontoon there, the
Oh,
floating vertiport
yes. Yes.
near the hospital. This is for me, a honorable something that is a use case that you are going to help, and you are going to have support, social acceptance by the people.
Yes. Yes.
Well, it's a pity that things deviated a bit. There was a schedule there. In the end, it couldn't be. It's not easy. When you are pioneering a new technology, you find new hurdles and challenges as you crawl. As you say, we couldn't run, we were crawling, and we couldn't fly much there. The industry was impacted. Now you have companies in Germany, yeah, going into trouble. So I think going now to the next Olympics in LA, we need to be more realistic. Maybe we
Oh,
cannot
yes.
sell tickets to go to the sci-fi stadium or whatever, or from one place of Los Angeles to another, but we can maybe define one corridor along the coast that can serve as a show, or as a way to yeah, demonstrate to the population that this is not unsafe, that this is totally yeah, it's something that they can accept in their daily life, not that year, but in the next years. You see also in Middle East things moving
Yes.
in Emirates, yeah, and
Yes.
Dubai, Abu Dhabi. They want to connect them, flying over the sea, of course, not flying over
Of
buildings. Uh, yeah, we need to crawl. We need to accumulate a lot of hours
yes.
for us, for the population, and for the also the insurance companies. Otherwise, they will kill us with the fees for the insurance. They
Yes.
they don't have a statistics, so they're going to say,
No.
"Oh, let's
Mm.
charge 500,000 for covering your operations here."
For
And
one
then
flight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, and especially yeah, you make a really good point about Los Angeles. At least we can still fly over the water, which of course means we're not flying over populated areas, which means of course, A, it's easier to get the permit, B, it's easier to probably insurance wise and everything. And like you said, at least let's determine one corridor and let's work with that. And I think that'll be a much more sober way to go forward.
Yeah, yeah. I dream of this Baywatch guy looking there. What is that? An eVTOL? Yeah, yeah.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? It's an eVTOL.
In Santa Monica or in Venice Beach or whatever. Yeah, I think this is going to happen. Until then,
Yeah.
we're going to fight a lot. We're going to try for cargo operations and to go connecting islands, flying over mountains and crossing rivers and lakes and things like that. It's a way to accumulate experience with the impact of the meteo. The meteorology is super important. We saw in our test. Also, the GPS coverage, the GNSS coverage, we were impacted in the Costa Rica flights with the eVTOL, passenger eVTOL. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I will go a bit into the test later, but yeah, we need
Yeah, I
to
was gonna
do
say,
cargo and go outside the cities before adding the complexity of the wind canyons in between buildings and things like that. Yes.
Yeah, yes, especially in between buildings where, yes, absolutely. And you just reminded me of something. In 2019, I was in Guangzhou in China, and Yihang was already flying their 216 from one side of the Yellow River to the other side. And that's a pretty smart thing to do, right? Because you want to be over water in case anything happens. And they were doing demo rides. And I remember at the time going, I want to, but am I really want to? I really want to, and now I'm like, oh shoot, I should have just gone in, and that was it.
Mhm.
But that's the way to do it, and that's the I think, and again, that's also the the pragmaticism that I'm seeing now in the industry, especially with leaders like you know, like our friend Curtis and Rex Alexander, Clint Harper, all these people.
Yeah, great guys.
We're seeing a much more down to earth approach to this, and it's normal, right? Every disruptive technologies come out with a big bang, big fanfare, draws a lot of money from early investors, and then after that, it's the sobering time. And I'm really excited about the period we're in right now because now, like you said, we're doing the testing, we're doing the crawling before we can eventually walk, and then at one point or another we'll run. So, yeah, tell us a little bit about Costa Rica. Not only is it a place we all dream of going to, but you guys are doing some pretty interesting work out there.
Yeah, yeah, because we already have a vertiport control solution that we want to test thoroughly. And the best way is to, yeah, to perform flights, to continuously fly from the FATO. So we started tests in some projects like Welcome. Welcome is a project in Europe, in Italy, France, and Spain. Spain is doing very well. And our site was testing in Madrid hospitals and in the port of Sevilla. So we had many
Hmm.
learnings there because even if it's a small drone for cargo for 1 kilo, 2 kilos of meds, you already have suddenly helicopters from the police or the Air Force flying around you, and you need to return to home safely. You have drones from tourists already flying along the river, and you have to also be aware of these things. People are flying in an uncontrolled manner, so they are non-collaborative, and you need to check.
Yes.
So yeah, we are also testing like the meteo. We did even noise measurements in Villacarrillo Aerodrome with the passenger air taxi that we have for testing for two passengers. So
Wow.
we were validating all the route of 5 kilometers with our partners like Unisphere, especially DMR Tech also validating all the route with the different models of the ground and the terrain model around the
Wow.
measurement of the nowcast. So we were mixing the parameters of the drone, the tolerance, the real-time nowcast, and also the model of the terrain. So mixing all together, we could decide uh, clear or not for takeoff. Yeah. So sometimes you think it's a sunny day, yeah, but the wind gusts are varying a lot. Then sometimes you don't have so many hours of operation as people think initially. Okay, this
Yes.
first
Yeah.
generation people think they're very strong like a helicopter. They are not. the density of power there is not evolving as fast as we could, and that's impacting all the programs in the eVTOL industry, the batteries especially. Yeah.
Yes.
So we were testing that day with passenger taxi in Andalusia, in Galicia also, with a lot of rain. And yeah, it could stand 40 kilometers per hour wind and heavy rain.
Wow.
So I was surprised how stable
Wow.
this passenger air taxi was. So
Wow.
sometimes the multi-rotors will surprise you, okay? But they don't have a
Yeah.
long range. Yeah, that's the
Yeah, see, yeah, I mean it can load balance, it can do wonderful things. We're still waiting for power density to shrink, 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 but we're moving there. I mean, we're still going in that direction. But you're right, good point.
yeah, for complex areas you need multi-rotors, and for easy areas, easy routes, and easy, yeah, then you can use the wing eVTOLs. And we did something fascinating, even if we didn't have a project in Costa Rica. The main highway of our mother company is in Costa Rica, in San Jose,
Mm.
capital, to the coast, the Pacific coast, which is a paradise. For me, it's the most beautiful place, Guanacaste, on earth.
Oh,
We were brave to ask to the regulator, based on the type certificate of this air taxi, to go there. Can you allow us to fly in an airport, at an airport, without closing the airport, really doing parallel operations with a NOTAM message, with a NOTAM warning NOTAM?
wow.
And they asked for more mitigations, of course. They say, no, this is, you need to close the envelope, flying this 30 meters around, because the aircraft are 300 meters away, and these are, big aircraft from big airlines from US, American, Delta, arriving, landing every minute. So after some review, thorough review during 3, 4 months, we agreed on terms to be able to fly in parallel operations at the airport, coordinated with the tower. And it was amazing, because when I fly sometimes in Europe in aerodromes, it's all closed, the
Yep.
temporary segregated area, and this was not the same. I could see the aircraft landing behind the passenger eVTOL, and we could also deploy a vertiport in a ramp in an airport in a matter of half a day. So we connected UTM systems, we connected to the meteo, local
Wow.
meteo of the airport. We coordinated with the tower. We had cameras. We had everything integrated, and we could validate the flight and control it very well from our first release of vertical control.
In
Yes.
6 hours?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because okay, it was the first release, and we only had to integrate a few sensors. But it was an intelligent heliport,
Wow.
and now we already are detecting with cameras and artificial intelligence persons, animals. So we
Yep.
we launch an alert. We detect drones, birds, whatever. We are working on that. And also in Costa Rica, we could fly 25 kilometers away at the heliport in a luxury hotel there at the beach. And that flight was not only 30 meters; it was 5 meters over the golf course, over the all the beach, and it was amazing. We could also see that if you have an asphalted heliport, you can also deploy a vertiport there as
Yep.
easily as in a matter of hours. Okay, you go with your vertiport control system, you connect everything together. You have energy, you have Wi-Fi, you have your data,
Wow.
and the problem there was suddenly the GPS. We needed 23 satellites, and suddenly it went down to 22. And
Oh,
for half an hour it didn't go up, so we were like waiting, waiting. Boom, we have the window and we use it. But also the wind was varying from, like doubling or varying from 10 to 25 kilometers per hour near the beach. Is impacting a lot, so we were
yeah.
carefully waiting for the right moment, and then the flight was fantastic, perfect, and it was a really, really interesting learning experience there in Costa Rica. Yes.
So I mean, first of all, I'm really impressed how quickly you guys put it all together and how you turned an airport into a multi-port, I guess, of sorts. I was going to ask you how the technology is these days, but even before I say that, it looks like you got some very interesting live data. Because one of the things I'm always wondering is how in the world are we going to be flying drones, eVTOLs, and all the current air traffic in a place like San Francisco, right? Where one corner you're wearing shorts, the other corner you want a turtleneck like this, but you
Mhm.
actually had you have a lot of life data there. So one of the things that you were talking about it made me wonder, what's the state of technology? I mean, are we, first of all, for those who are watching us right now, you may or may not know that these first stage eVTOLs that we're working with are really like a first generation eVTOLs. They're visual flight VFR. They don't have any de-icing. Their batteries are air cooled. I mean, we really are at the very
Mm.
first. Like, if you want the 2008 of the EV world right now, that's where we are right now with these guys. So the next generation, of course, are going to be much more sophisticated. Eventually, it'll be
Yeah,
IFR. It'll be de-icing, blah
totally.
blah. But we're not there yet. So we're going from the concept to okay. These are the first
Hmm.
flights. How do you feel the like you said, one of the GPS satellites went down and that sort of says, we're not flying right now. So how do you feel with technology? Are we there? What are the challenges that need to be addressed right now?
We are there for testing, for commercial operations. We are not there yet. We need more redundancy. When you lose this precise positioning, you need to find other ways. You cannot risk
No.
to lose half of your hours of operation waiting for a satellite or waiting for the right conditions. So you need to have. I would have several kind of eVTOLs. I would have several systems. I would have all the data I can on the area. I would create a mesh of micro weather data, have a sensor every
Yes.
like 1 to 4 kilometers around, and do the interpolation of the data with the terrain model. Um, there are many challenges ahead. When we are doing tests, we find for three problems, we find two and a half solutions. Something remains a bit pending to the next release. And also we find other three problems. So it's the challenges are increasing, not decreasing. So we are learning as we
That's so
crawl,
true. That's so true. It's like an onion layer. You peel one layer, you're like, yay! Oh, wow, another
and
layer.
you cry. Yeah, you
Yay! Oh,
cry. Oh, I
and you
found.
cry and you cry. It's so true. You make me want to shut my camera off, jump on an airplane, go to Costa Rica, and just do a live podcast of all of this happening. So one of these days, I'm going to do it.
Or in Lisbon, yeah, where we met,
Or
hopefully.
in Lisbon. Yes, yes, absolutely. One of these days.
Yeah,
So
these cities
so
are fantastic, to fly along coastal areas.
yes,
That's what we cannot fly
yes.
directly now in a densely populated city. So we need to
No.
find the ancient corridors that where the ships were, navigating. We need to navigate there again safely.
Have you ever seen Savannah? Yeah, and you know where I'm from originally, right? From Nice, right? So, boy, that's a given. That is I've already drawn everything out
That's beautiful.
from Monaco to easily to Cannes, and then everything else going in both directions. So that there's a lot to be done there. Of course, but you're right. We have to prioritize over water travel. It's easier to do. It's well, at least in the beginning, at least.
Yeah, now you have this interesting invitation to negotiate or RFI in Orlando International Airport for the
Yes.
vertiports by GOA, by the Greater
Yep.
Orlando Aviation Authority.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
Florida is an interesting area. Everybody's looking at
Yes.
Florida and California, due to the coast and
Yep.
also
Yep.
the canals, the intercoastal,
That's
and all
it.
the
Yes.
swamps to fly over the.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Imagine connecting the Keys, connecting, going down in the coast, even to Bahamas, or yeah, that will
And,
happen in.
and further up north where we are in Savannah, right? Because I mean, if you look at it, it sort of curves this way. Most of our
Mhm.
flight is just over water. We have a lot of waterways, like you say, a lot of places where we can land safely. We've got 100 miles of you know what? We've got the biggest concentration of marshland in Georgia right here in the southeast or in the south. Oh, sorry, in the east part of the United States. So yeah, plenty of space down here. Plenty of space. Sorry,
And
so that was.
crocodiles also.
And yeah, alligators. Yes, gotta be
Yeah, the
careful with
alligators. Yeah.
alligators.
And
Yeah.
what we are dreaming now is in a couple of months we will go to Canary Islands to fly medical cargo along
Yes.
the coast, and this is going to be one of the few beyond visual line of sight flights over
Yes.
15 kilometers. We're going to connect hospitals. So the things that Zipline is already doing in Africa because the regulation is non-existent. We took like almost a year to get the permit, but once you get the permit, the door is open, you unlock this kind of concept of operation and this scenario. And it's going to help also to connect islands for medical purposes. So this is for me very exciting. The progress of the year is to start
Yes.
doing very long range operations, yeah, beyond visual line of sight.
I can't tell you how excited I am about that because I can't talk about it just yet, but we're working on a project that's very similar to what you guys are doing over there, but right here in the US. And I'll just throw one number. In the US, it takes 50 people to move one organ.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you think about it, right? Everybody from the original surgeon to the surgeon who will put the organ in. So we're working on ways of mitigating this, at least increasing the performance, which of course means livelihood. And of course, if you know anything about organ transportation over the last 20 years, is well, we used to, you know what, we used to have just go 10 miles, 20 miles. Now we go almost 400 miles, right? So we have to use new technologies, but we'll well, stay tuned for that. We'll
That's
have a lot more to say about that, but I'm more interested in what you have to say about what you guys are doing.
No, that's amazing. Organ transport is the dream, the full dream, when because it's a part of a human body. It's like a person
Yes.
also taken by the doctor. I know the chain of custody is very demanding. You need to have everything very well traced.
Yes.
Um, what we did for sending biological samples and tracing it, we have an app that the doctors can say, okay, I want to send this to the other doctor. I'm the one sending, he's the one receiving, this is the content, this is the ID. So we have unique identifiers there, and you have full
Yes.
traceability. Sometimes they are just taking it with the car, and sometimes they lose the samples or the
Yes.
medicine, and this is a pity. And for organs, you need to be very careful, and I agree. At the beginning, you will have the doctor in the eVTOL taking the organ himself. But in some years, yes, I foresee the heart will fly along.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
From
hopefully.
hospital to hospital directly. Absolutely. And that's the dream. That's what we're working on. So indeed, yeah, it's amazing to now. I mean, if you think about it, 10 years ago, this was just all very theoretical. It was, our friends in Switzerland were flying an Electra 330 with Siemens electric motor and battery and controller system for a half hour. And now all of a sudden you guys are doing some real live testing of what a vertiport will look like, how it should operate and how it should function. That's pretty impressive. And of course, now we're talking about organ transportation is yeah, I think that's the one thing that will finally get people to understand how important advanced air mobility
Yeah.
is. That's the one thing that saves lives. And that's actually one of the original topic of advanced air mobility, quieter, more efficient, no pollution. And hey, by the way, it also saves lives. That's a pretty good marketing plot there.
Yeah, yeah. When I started into the this sector, the one of the things I fell in love was a dream of IKEA called Ambular project, the ambulance, air ambulance. I like
Mm.
this design. Yes.
Yep, yep. So one of the things that we do at the Ways We Move is we of course introduce new technologies that are changing the ways that we move, obviously, but also the people behind and understanding why those people do the things they do and how you have to be a dreamer, a futurist, and I guess the question I have for you is why don't you just work in a big telecommunication company and call it a day? Why do you get up in the morning to do the things you do? And thank you, by the way.
Yeah. Why do I get myself these headaches and these short hours of sleep every day? Yeah. I'm
Lose
also yeah.
hair. Oh, yeah, right. Look at him.
No, I'm going all white, all Santa Claus
Yeah,
since I
that's
started
true.
in the business. I was all
I still
brown
have some.
hair.
Oh, yeah, I still have some black hair behind here. You can't see it.
I don't know. It's one life. We want to leave a legacy. We want to dream big. We want to invent something, not only just do this minor fixing or fine tuning. We want to do the big thing.
Yeah, that's
Um,
true.
it's why I wake up every day because I want to, create new solutions for amazing problems. Um, I work a lot in wire harnesses also. It was easy money.
Yeah,
We were selling like
true.
crazy to all the manufacturers. but it was every day the same monotony. And after some months, I didn't like it. It's yeah, it's money that is there, but it's not. You feel hungry for knowledge. You feel hungry for excitement, for a dynamic work, and also the team. You see this ambient is very static, very slow. People are like robots, and in that condition, I prefer to work with the robots of the air and
Yes.
prepare everything for their amazing launch and the growth they will bring. And it's going to be like artificial intelligence. It's going to be drones, artificial intelligence together, quantum computing all together.
Yes.
This mix is going to increase the GDP a lot. The productivity is going to be
Yes.
boosted. And yeah, for me, it's the only way I know how to live. I don't live for easy money. I live for learning and yeah, being a student every day in my life. It's true.
Yeah, that's very well said. I don't live for a paycheck. I really live to do something. I'm here to do something and I'm going to do it no matter what. So, and the best part about it is if I don't do it, somebody else will do it. So it will happen nonetheless. Um, how do you see your life the next few years or so? Because you actually said some really interesting things, and I think this is really what we're all doing right now is almost all the pieces are there, right? Now we're just trying to dot everything together, bring everything together. So how do you see your life in about 2, 3 years, and maybe 5 years and 10 years from now?
Yeah, I see my life, less hair, some heliports already being transitioned to vertiports.
Yes.
and and the first vertiports started from scratch. At the moment, I'm told don't build a vertiport if you're not going to use it at least every week, every month. It's going to be a very sad. It's like an empty airport, and I agree.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
Only we deploy with our mobile control center when we need to test, and we move the vertiport from one side to the other, so we don't impact or we don't spend a lot of money and time. But
Yep.
in 2 or 3 years, yes, I see we were deploying already our first vertiport in Caribe, our first heliports to be transitioned, scaled, and adapted to be a vertiport later on in Europe, in places like Lisbon, coastal areas, Malaga, Balearic,
Yes.
Mallorca, Canary Islands, these places.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
And in 5 years, I see already that we can build some network, okay? Connect, have own 2 or 3 vertiports in a region, and we can already be like the vertiport network manager, and yeah, playing the game to optimize the capacity and the demand of the network. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And in 10 years, I envision already having operating over 50 vertiports around the world. I know that at the beginning it's going to be a mix of heliports,
Yeah.
helicopters, and
Yep.
eVTOLs, because the
Of
first
course.
generation is not still valid for all the use cases, not for search and rescue emergency. They are only okay
Yes.
for some panoramic sightseeing tours or some airport shuttle or VIP shuttle. And then it has to become democratic, and it has to become,
Yes.
more robust to any conditions. But it will take some time to accumulate improvements, technology, and learning, yeah, to go to 200, 300 kilometers dynamic routing in cities. Things like that are going to take some years, but they will come. Yeah, we will see these air corridors over our cities in 15, 20 years.
Yeah, and considering the very different configuration of eVTOLs that we have, and by the way, I'm a big proponent of eSTOLs. We'll have Mark Osman from Electra talking pretty soon. Actually, this week we're recording, and there's really such a wide variety of configurations, and each of them. They might be excellent at one thing, but they still can encroach on other services. And I think all of this is coming together really nicely. I guess my last question for you is, do you see
Mm.
any sort of glaring pieces of the puzzle missing at this stage, things that we should be working on right now? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, there are missing pieces. Uh, on one on one hand, there are certified equipment for airports that are too expensive. When you look for radars for counter UAS, okay, this is for a military base or for a big airport because they cost $1 million. Can I install in every vertiport? No, only maybe in the big hub in your city where you have over 100 operations per day. There, then
Yep.
it's worth it to certify up to a certain category, like you have instrumental landing in airports with Cat 3 or whatever.
Yep.
So I see missing an adaptation or equipment that is affordable for this new technology because we cannot be an airport. It's too expensive to be an airport. And on the other side, we are missing also advanced equipment for meteorology, okay, that we can deploy sensors everywhere, connect them together very well. We are lacking precision landing, and we are lacking a lot of procedures, like the decision point where you decide, am I going to land here or I have an emergency and I need to go to a contingency vertiport. So we are lacking a lot of firefighting techniques because when you have a
Yes.
electrical fire, somebody, I think everybody saw the electrical car burning, right? It takes
Yep.
1 hour.
Yep.
It's impacting. It's a high temperature. It takes liters of water to take it to put it down. This fire.
Yep.
So we are lacking advanced technologies to put down electrical fires for eVTOLs. We are lacking procedures, coordination with the ANSPs, but also a lot of ad hoc sensors and equipment that we have to use for vertiports. Yeah, we are lacking a lot. And standardization. Also for charging, everybody's going their own
Yeah.
direction. We need to
Whew.
standardize. Yeah.
Actually, just one quick thing on the firefighting techniques of that. In 2008, 2009, when we were introducing electric vehicles out there, one of the first things we did is we talked to firefighters, and all of them said the same thing. We don't know how to deal with it. So I went through this whole,
Yeah. Pity.
in industry like morphing and everything. You know what they have today, which we can definitely use also for eVTOLs. It's going to be a little more difficult, but they have a big tarp that goes over an EV so
Hmm.
that contains the fire for one thing, but then it also has a foam that goes under that draws the smoke and everything into something that we can then dispose of. So one of the things that we say with my company is there are more solutions than obstacles, right? So that's actually something that
Wow.
we can go towards. And that's something that I want to talk to. I was talking to some firefighters at the Augusta airport right here in Georgia. And so that's one of the things that we want to start working on, but of course, on a much bigger level for eVTOLs for airplanes. So we're moving in that direction. But yeah, you're right. That needs to happen. You also mentioned two things. I'm really excited that you did because we had two people on the podcast before that talked exactly about what you said. We had Don Birchoff from True Weather Solutions who talked
Hmm.
about the
Yeah.
importance of having the enough data to formulate the right weather predictions, right? And especially as you say, going
Always
through
right. Yeah.
canyons. Yep. So, and then we also had our friends from Italy, the Edge Company, that have, hey, you know what? Instead of buying
Hmm.
a $5 million radar, let's just get cameras. At least that
Wow.
can
Yeah.
help. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of
Artificial intelligence, artificial vision is very powerful
art.
now with any kind of cameras, with Sony,
Exactly.
Axis,
Yes.
all kind of brands are working very well.
Sony back in 2000, was it 1920, and CES was already coming out with their idea of having an EV with, guess what, with their AI and their camera lenses and things like that. So
Mm.
yeah, so you're right. I mean, it's all there. There are more solutions than obstacles. It's just a question now of putting all these pieces together. One thing that I will say, and I'm glad you said it, is the fire marshal is the one who will tell us yes or no at the end of the day. So I think it's important to get the
Oof.
fire marshal in there because you know what, that door might not be in the right place. That electric outlet might not be in the right place, and that can be the difference between ten or $50,000 more that you need to put in a project because gee whiz, we forgot to ask the fire marshal, right? But of course, we think about these things, obviously.
Yeah, it's very difficult to guess your mean time to recovery of your vertiport, how much time the vertiport is going to be closed, depending on the damage that the fire is going to create. Maybe it's four
Yes.
hours, maybe it's a full day. Yeah, this type thing is a good, but it's a device that you need to have there in a
Yep.
available, and yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
Well, one of the things that we were thinking about is, the trucks that do have ladders that do have, enough to project liquids to take out a fire. We could also have a chute that unfolds a big tarp over something and then you just, it just wraps around it. But the ideas are there. Now it's just a question of how do you
Mm.
implement this and everything. And like you said, AI, that's an interesting topic because everything is AI right now. AI will make your coffee. AI will give you a
Mm.
back massage. Well, AI is like AAM, right? It's a big umbrella, guys. There are lots
It
of different
amplifies.
parts. Yeah, exactly. What
Like
kind of AI
Don
are you?
would say, Don would say, if you have crappy data, even if you amplify it, you are going to have a big shit,
Yeah,
a lot of crappy data. It's not going to be good data. So
yeah,
yes,
it's
yeah,
true. As a musician, I'll tell you one thing. You might have a great voice, but if you're still singing through a bad microphone, or you might be a great drummer on a bad drum set, it's still not going to sound that great. No matter how much tweaking you do, you still need good instruments. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Don's right about that.
well, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Jose, for being here. I know you're a little bit under the weather, although it doesn't show at all. But thank you for being with us today. I again, like I always, really, I truly always enjoy listening to you. I always enjoy meeting with you. I certainly look forward to working with you in the near future. I think. We're going in the same direction. There'll be plenty of more reasons to invite you back on the ways we move. And there's so many more things that we need to talk about. I think we've only begun to scratch the surface. So I want to thank you again for being here today.
No, thank you for believing in the industry. It's true, we are all under the weather and with the latest news we had from the hype. We went to the valley of death very, very fast. But I
Oh,
expect
yeah.
that during this year we will again,
Yes.
retake our glide path. We will go up and things will get better because we need to collaborate. Yeah, I mean, we're not competing for sure. We are all believers. Okay,
I do have a
you have
crystal ball, by the way.
your palantir. Okay,
I look into the future, and the one thing that I do see is you're right,
let's see this.
2025.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful one, huh?
yeah. I see some roots there flying. Yeah, I see some
Yeah, you
eagles.
see it, right? You too, huh?
Yeah,
I see some roots here, and but the one thing that I do see is you're right. 2025 is going to be a year where we're going to see mergers, acquisitions. We're going to see failures, and that's just normal. That's the way it is. Like you said,
yeah.
we've seen the hype. Now we're at the bottom or the winner of investment. But I do. And this is something that we're working on. We are starting to hear true investors come back in. What I mean by true investors are industry savvy investors who understand the golden rule in aviation is 1 decade, $1 billion, and 1,000 engineers. Now, in advanced air mobility, we can shrink those numbers a little bit, but it is happening. So I think this year is going to be absolutely amazing. And this year, well, we're
Yeah.
taking care of the foundation. So, and I'm glad to see that you guys are in there because you guys are doing a terrific job.
We are testing every month, and that's the only way to, the smoke is vanishing, and it's healthy for the sectors that the real makers
Yeah.
and doers are staying and are even joining forces together. So let's go for that.
So which route do you see?
I always see Guanacaste. I always see Costa Rica. No, I see a lot. I see Dubai, Abu Dhabi. I see.
Yes. Ras Al Khaimah,
Yeah, I see a lot of Emirates going to this, NEOM in Saudi going also in
Neom.
parallel.
Yeah.
And I see then Caribe and then the
Yes.
LA, the Olympics in LA being the big show.
LA, I see also Orlando. We're also part of the RFP there too. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting, and I hope so, Savannah, because it takes me 45 minutes to get to the airport, where it should only take me 20 minutes. So yeah, there are plenty of places that we need to work on, and of course, we have all the time in the world to do it.
Well, it was fantastic, Don. Nicolas. Okay,
Ab-
fantastic.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jose. So thank you again for coming here, and then I really look forward to seeing you back again on the show. Okay.
Yeah, Nicolas, it was fantastic to see you. It was fantastic to discuss a bit about the future, our aligned forecast. So I think we're going to make it happen together. Okay, we will see this really thriving.
Absolutely. And for all of you watching out there, let us know what you now understand. If there's anything that changed in your ways that you understand what advanced air mobility is, and tell us, tell us what do you see happening, and are we on the right track? What would you like to see? Again, share, like, subscribe, and send us your questions. We'd always be very happy to answer them. In the meantime, we'll see you very soon again.